Welcome back to Wednesdays with Walter. I can't believe it actually. I don't know this thing's been. You're not on. You're only on it twice a week. Like half the time it says recording in progress, which I don't know if you hear on your end. Half the time I hear absolutely nothing. So I'm going, is everything working? Like,
Yep.
Is this thing on? But before we jump into everything, I just want to. I didn't even tell them about this, but I want to thank everyone on the left and in the media and all of their constituents that are all mentally incapable of thought who completely went off the rocker, still are losing their minds when Elon Musk bought Twitter for $44 billion because he could, solve world hunger with that much money. And now they're all praising everyone for sending $40 billion to Ukraine to spend on war and killing people, and not a single word about world hunger. So guess what? Round of applause. There you go. Take your bows, your curtsy, do some dumb shit. I don't pat yourself on the back. Why? Because you prove everything that we say about you every single time. I just wanted to let you know, like, if we have to think about it, for the country, if we have the money to kill people left, right, and indifferently, we can actually cure a lot of things, but they don't actually care. They just care about their own interests. And guess what? Rhinos and crazy, there's no cool term like rhino for the Democrats that have been there forever. They're just sociopaths at this point. They all have their interests that they're taking care of as well. And that's my opening hurrah about that. But I have opening, thoughts on all of it. Then Walter, I even wrote down this week, you get to have your opening thought to get everything off that you want to get off your chest. Before we start going, so maybe we can get a little bit more of it out before all hell breaks loose. But really the big one is just for this whole thing for me is elections have consequences, and they're very, very real. And a lot of the primaries have looked pretty good so far, but if you say they don't, violent crime rates, inflation, gas, shortages of stuff, the border, everything in Ukraine, China, North Korea, Iran, Afghanistan, if I didn't say it already, there's a lot of bad things happening because of that. And now they're all still blatantly ignorant to whatever the Dems and the mainstream media companies and the crazy rhinos that hate all of us too. They all the Mitt Romneys and Liz Cheney's actually hate everyone.
Susan Collins.
Yeah, can't forget her face. Mitch McConnell, good old turkey gobbler with no teeth. Lindsey Graham. He's he just flip flops. He changes his mind more than like burgers get flipped every day.
That ain't no lie.
And the big one on it all that we're gonna probably I want to hit the most though is the climate thing, because there's just so much stupid, and people start pick fights with me online every day because they're just stupid. And then I bombard them with all kinds of stats and government, even stuff coming from their own government. They're people that this is their stats. Boom. And then they don't talk to me anymore, and I get blocked. I kind of feel like a badge of honor every time I get blocked by someone for not saying anything rude or anything. Well, they're just calling me neo-Nazi, skinhead, calamity, conspiracy theorist, sociopath. Like, do you realize who's doing the yelling in this conversation?
Right now.
Anyway, your opening feelings on everything?
Okay. Opening feelings. As far as elections go, there's a problem there. We'll go to that in depth shortly.
Oh,
yeah. I do want to correct one thing in regards to elections that we talked about last week, though, because I've been thinking about it all week. I misspoke on Nebraska when I woke up at 4 something that morning. It was Lindstrom who was there in the lead, had it called, and then all of a sudden, 2 hours later, it changed, and it went from Lindstrom to Pillion.
However you pronounce it.
Yeah, that guy. But anyways, that was the one correction I wanted to get off my chest. In regards to Ukraine, just a shout out, last week, their very first elected president died. The guy had some pro-democracy stuff that made sense. He had issues with the current government, but he also said it was better than it had been in the past. And if Zelensky has kudos of the guy that originally started the whole democracy thing in Ukraine, I feel like there's something to say there. Not saying Zelensky's perfect because, well, he's not, but if I
Nowhere
want to
near.
be honest, I feel like he's more open about his wrongdoings than some other people we know. I don't say more open. He owns them better than other people we know. Let's put it that way.
And we all know that they're all involved in shady stuff. I mean, just and if we need
Some
to
will
know
own
if
it, and
there's
some won't.
any, we need to know if there's anything shady going on with them. I mean, let's look at Quid Pro Joe. Either you get to fire the special prosecutor, or the United States is leaving with your money and you're not getting anything. And what do you know? Boom! Within an hour, Hunter was no longer getting investigated, or Burisma, or any of them. Wow,
Exactly.
we're not going to give you billions of aid.
Now, the one pro Zelensky thing I'll say in that statement is when all that went down, he was nowhere near involved like he is right now. Still. But there's things about Zelensky that if I find out necessarily in time with more information that they're true, I'm going to question morally and ethically. But for the guy that's in the position that he's in right now, kudos. And I really do hope he beats you, Russia. I really hope he does, because we'll clearly throw the money at it, but we're too stupid to do the right things with it. Anywho.
Oh, don't worry. We'll get into that. I wrote a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I wrote a lot of stuff about
inflation. Anyone that thinks you can solve inflation and bring inflation down by spending more money and printing more money by not adding valuable assets to offset that money, it's going to fail.
That's how great nations
plain economics. I learned that in high school. I'm sorry.
That's how mighty nations.
I learned that in 8th grade, so junior high.
That's how great nations collapse. Idiots.
And I also think in regards to inflation, a lot of that could be solved if other things were under more accountability.
Oh, don't worry. I'll get into, there's some amazing stuff to get into.
The government thinks right now in any way, shape, or form, they're not at fault for it. Jeff Bezos came out in the last week and said, "You're an idiot. You're screwing up, and it is your fault."
And you're blaming everyone else. Granted,
he's on Joe Biden's side.
Oh, I know, but granted, look, midterms are coming around. They know what they apparently solved the results of a bunch of stuff, and then conveniently, there's one of the most liberal people in the country that was a giant Joe supporter, gave billions, all kinds of money, and now it's like, what? Okay, now they're all turning on him, so that there's no chance he can run again in 2 years because, they know what's happening.
Ed Renzi, what was he? I think he's a CEO of a company. I can't remember which company it was, but he's got money, and he called all of the feds out, whole entire federal administration right now, and said that you are absolutely wrong for blaming any way, shape, or form anything more than 15 to 30% of the inflation right now on Ukraine-Russia conflict. You can't blame more than that on them. He says the rest of it is policy-based ignorance and choices.
It's ignorance.
Just saying.
It's ignorance. Hey, it's all set by people that have been in charge for a very long time that are bound and determined to just finally put the bullet.
I mean, I know it ain't probably going to happen. It's probably never going to happen while I'm alive, but it would be nice if you could see the federal government, some way, shape, or form, put into play a policy that term limits everything to 2. Everything. Minus Supreme Court justices. Obviously, that's a different situation.
Yeah, it depends on
and I think attorney generals should be elected every 2 years.
I think you should actually have to have a brain before you're allowed to be an attorney general.
Not even that. I mean,
or a spine.
If you had attorney general elections every 2 years, like in our state, I'm going to use Michigan for an example.
Dumpster.
If we had an attorney general election every 2 years, and I know that sounds stupid because it's going to be hard for them to change policies, but the only choice, like in our areas we have, is if we can't change that every 2 years, we can get stuck with somebody like Whitless for years.
Hey,
I'm just putting that out there.
She's a genius, that lady. Putting it out there. She's a godsend, but starting off again, Ukraine. I already said it. No point in sending it again. But, it's amazing how happy all their people and the media and all of them are to spend $40 billion when, we could solve a lot of problems here at home. $40 billion. We could solve our homeless and hunger problem with $40 billion. Hell, the wall's already paid for. Money's there. They could let them finish that.
Well, the walls
a lot of the drug problems
now because they're letting all that material sit there and rot.
Yeah. But there's a lot of things, but it's amazing how fast someone else needs money and how quickly they could put it together. But here, what? God, boom.
The wall was 1/8 of what they're sending in this latest bill to Ukraine. I just want to point that out. But how much do we spend a day on the illegal immigrants? I've seen numbers in the past that were averaging 300 and 500 million a day. If that's true, I'm sorry, but in less than a month, you paid off the border wall. Just pointing that out.
Yeah, but when it comes to the $40 billion, I have a lot of things that a lot of idiots said, and when it comes down to it, their excuse at the end that Chuck Schumer gave is just astronomical. But I mean, really astronomical. But a bunch of Republicans voted against it, so all hell's
this is how pathetic our government's become. This is something that you and I were talking about, and this is part of the article we were going over. I just want to point this statement out that was said by Chuck Schumer.
Don't ruin my
This is in reference to Rand Paul and his beliefs on the situation with this Ukraine bill.
Well, I got Chuck.
He asked for accountability, remember?
Yes.
Rand Paul wanted accountability over who was getting paid out what.
I said, don't ruin that's my ending. Don't ruin my ending with their stupid, lamest horseshit excuse I've ever heard in my entire
Well, no, I'm just referring to the Rand Paul part of this for you.
I know that, well, don't worry, he's talking. Well, my ending is him talking about it, and it is, we need to, yeah. I'll get to all the idiots.
Got it.
Yeah. Don't ruin that on me. Because it is the most idiotic thing.
Thank you.
Granted, I don't turn on.
What he said about Rand Paul, it just, that one line said about, my mind is.
What he said about Rand Paul, I'll let you say, but the legitimate excuse that they gave as, don't worry, Chucky's at the end. Chucky's at the end because Chucky is absolutely out of it. He thinks he's in The Godfather or something. I mean, the same guy that was complaining when gas prices were around $2 a gallon because, Donald Trump, and he was at the gas station saying he doesn't care about his people. And now it's like over $4 everywhere. And they're all, screw it, man. Let's burn through $40 billion more dollars. It's okay. Anyway, we'll get to Chuck Schumer. He's a psychopath.
And in reference to what you were just saying about the gas,
he's literally a psychopath.
Never in my lifetime did I think, especially when I started driving, gas in Michigan was still under $1.
Every state would be over $4. Yeah, don't worry. We'll get the gas prices.
I never thought in my life I could see $5 gas in Michigan.
Hey.
It is near.
Hey, but it's going to get worse now. But and Republicans.
Yoo-hoo has her way, and we're over here. Yeah. I just want to point that out.
But screw Yoo-hoo. That's all I got to say. I don't even want to. You don't even rate your name being spoken by these lips until I run out of coffee.
I'm not saying her name.
Once I run out of coffee. Once I run out of coffee, I'm probably going to say something mean about Chuckles. She seems to like to laugh about everyone else's problems based on her stupidity. But anyway, a bunch of Republicans voted against it. It's amazing how quick it was to find their names online. They just blasted everyone that voted against sending the money. Rand Paul, Kentucky, obviously. Marsha Blackburn, she's always on there. Tennessee. John Boozman, who has one of the best names ever there. Good for him. Arkansas. Mike Braun of Indiana, Mike Crapo. I don't care how it's pronounced. That's Crapo. Of Idaho, Bill Hagerty of Tennessee. Obviously, Josh Hawley was going to be in there. He's from Missouri. Mike Lee of Utah. Cynthia Loomis. I'm going with Loomis. Wyoming. Roger Marshall of Kansas. Tommy Tuberville of Alabama. And it's amazing, no matter where you looked, for the 8 senators that didn't vote on it at all, it's amazing that the only names I could find were Republicans. Richard Burr of North Carolina and Pat Toomey of Pennsylvania. It's amazing how I couldn't find an actual list of the 8 that didn't vote, but they said including these 2 Republicans. That's cute. What you're saying is there's a bunch of idiots that.
Well, there's somebody that's not on that list that obviously tells me they voted for the $40 billion to Ukraine. That severely bothers me. Actually, there's 2 people on that list that I don't see. Yeah, where's Kennedy? Where's Ted Cruz?
I mean, again, we'll find a whole list. They could be on there.
I am pro-Ukraine all day, or not pro-Ukraine. Sorry. I am pro-Israel every day, all day. I'll never change that thought. It'll never go out of my heart or my beliefs or my morals for that matter. But with that being said, we're still arguing all the time about sending money to not sending money. We're still arguing all the time about producing ammunition and sending that to replace the firepower for the Iron Dome.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Because crazy progressives.
We can't send our bullets to Israel to save our one and true ally of democracy and Christianity more than anyone else in the world.
One that actually gives a damn. And they're smack dab in the one place in the world that really hates us.
Thank you.
Hey, but look, it's AOCs and the Schumers and the Pelosi's and
if something happens,
all of them that say we need to get rid of, like, well, we shouldn't be paying for them. Like, but we could pay for, okay, well, that shows who actually is the anti-Semites, because let them kill them. Let them kill them.
That there's a large Jewish Christian, not sorry, I said that wrong. There's a large Judeo-Christian population in the eastern half of Ukraine. Israel stepped up real quick right at the beginning to do what they could to get all them people out. They did it immediately. Where was the U.S.? Oh, what do you know? We're still sniffing the tailpipe of the airplanes that left us screwed over from Afghanistan.
Hey, what do you expect? They knew about the formula problem last year and didn't do a damn thing about it too. It's what they do. They just say these big fancy words like they're doing things, and Joe Biden gets angry and still doesn't know what the damn Secretary of Defense is when he's standing next to the son of a bitch.
July of last year, the formula thing was at the start of the problem.
Just like they're having problems with shipping, and getting, supply chain and getting truck, getting the boxes off the cargo things and onto trucks. They knew about that since they said they started. The second they got in office, they didn't even do anything about it until August, September. They used it as a convenient little, let's talk about Afghanistan ploy. Like, they see shit coming a year in advance. They just don't care. They legit don't give a damn.
They don't.
Anyway.
And then there's the other side of that too.
They create all the problems. Don't worry. Don't worry. That's a whole block. Block with all their shortages and idiots. You're just blowing this thing all over God's creation, which I appreciate. But
you're good.
Let me start going on something else.
I
know I can't get. There's a block, Walter.
God. I'm following.
God. Good old turkey gobbler, Mitch McConnell. We all know just how worthless he is known for being, and he just spineless, I think, is the big one. Funny how he had no problem having Trump help him get reelected, though. I mean, it's funny, he had no problem with that, and then turned on him the second he got a chance. I'm just like a lot of them. Susan Collins.
I want Rand Paul to be the next Senate Majority Leader, by the way. Mitch McConnell.
Let's see. Turkey gobbler. There's always been isolationist voices in the Republican Party. This is why we all hate you, because there you are dividing everyone.
He's not helping anything by saying that. Bullshit.
I think one lesson we learned in World War II is not standing up to aggression early is a huge mistake. Afghanistan. The beginning of Ukraine, when you did jack shit for the 3 months they were building up on the border and waited until they did something before you guys did anything.
Before that? How about before that? How about why did we block Trump's shipment for like 8 or 9 months? Why was that blocked? I want somebody to tell me that.
Saying if we're not going to, if we're going to say
that was agreed on in December 2020, and it didn't get, the first shipment didn't get there till when?
Not standing up to aggression is a huge mistake. Well, that means
you really
guys
stood to aggression when you gave up Bagram Air Base.
You missed. Let's see, Afghanistan. This whole Russia-Ukraine thing, you're off by a million years. I mean, you guys really don't have a track record of that.
I can give you a huge track record of that. You can go right back to 2014.
Oh, I'm not even going that far. I'm just going since Joe got in there with, like, he's saying sending the stuff now, not doing it is a huge mistake. Like, we literally sat there and watched like maps overhead of all the stuff they're putting up on that border all over the place in several different countries, and you guys did nothing.
I had a better understanding before they did.
In fact, you did less than nothing.
Exactly.
He said, we're going to do all these sanctions. That'll stop them. Yeah, what? They were never meant to stop them because you guys did nothing.
Exactly.
But that's, old turkey gobbler. Josh Hawley responded. Obviously, he doesn't know how to shut up. Sometimes it's to his detriment, but I think he was right on this one. Spending $40 billion on Ukraine aid, more than 3 times what all of Europe has spent combined, true story, is not in America's interest. It neglects priorities at home, the border, allows Europe to freeload, shortchanges critical interests abroad, and comes with no meaningful oversight. That's not isolationism. That's nationalism. It's about prioritizing American security and American interests. Take that one, Mitch. See, Mitch is just worried because he knows he's getting voted out next time because he is officially pissed off. And especially if everyone's turning around seeing how these midterms have been going. Like, what? I'm dead. Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Dead in the water. What is it, Bill Haggerty? I certainly don't have anything against the Ukrainians. We want to see them win, but pumping more money into that country when we're not taking care of our own country, the best thing that Biden can do is stop the war that he's waged on American industry. Like Lee, he's also not one to shut up. He's not nearly as good at speaking as Josh Hawley or our friend Kennedy. I don't know how the hell they named him John Kennedy after that. Like, thanks, parents. Thanks for that one. But Putin's aggression is indefensible, true. And we should look for appropriate ways to defend. I love analogies, but
Kennedy's analogies are, you will not find any senator in Senate that has better analogies than that man. I just want to put that out there.
And we should look for appropriate ways to defend Ukrainians in the noble defense of their homeland. Someone wrote that for you. We must also make sure Congress maintains its constitutional role of directing engagement in conflict and ensure that we are not spending unnecessary funds while in a time of historic inflation and ballooning national debt. My amendment will ensure we can help our friends without compromising our constitutional or financial integrity. How about that? And now, finally, to our friend Rand Paul. When he held it up originally all on his own, stopped the unanimous thing, because he wanted to make an amendment in it to make, an IG, Inspector General, oversee the money being spent. So we knew where every dollar and penny went. And Chuck Schumer refused to budge and add it because he said the president wanted it done by the 19th. Like, well, you wrote the thing up in about 12 seconds. You send it back, put one little line of an amendment in there. Sorry, about this much of a line of amendment in there. And then they could vote on it that day and then send it back to you guys and you could vote on it again that day. And then the money will be hooyah'd to them by the 19th when the original funding ran out. So, like, you got it done yesterday, which was the 17th, which means you could have sent it back and had all of it done today if you guys actually did anything. I know, hard to believe, make them actually work, and then send it back and it would be done and signed off on today.
For a country on the other side of the hemisphere, that's not necessarily always a strategical gain for the U.S. Not that I'm degrading Ukraine.
Like, one line, though. One line. They wouldn't send it back because that would delay it, and the president wanted it done by the 19th. Why? So one line to ensure we know where every dollar went was too much.
They even knew they were going to go around him no matter what happened. They knew right from the gate. And that was the sentence. That was the statement I was going to make.
Yeah. So I said,
he said,
I was
this
just
obstruction will not prevent Ukraine from passing the Senate. That's bullshit. The fact that he said that statement ahead of time, knew that he was going to, no matter what, ram that bill through without any regard to anything that anyone could possibly step back and go, wait a minute. I think financially this could be a problem for us.
Guess what, guys? As he said, they have constitutional and financial things that they swear to do before they do these things. And heaven forbid someone say, how about we actually have someone count every damn penny that gets spent? So, it's not just lining people's pockets like, how Zelensky allegedly made, $100 million last year as, public figure. Like, no offense to him, but heard enough and seen enough reports of that. Where's it all going? Oh, wait, he's getting all kinds of kickbacks for not burying. I mean, it's kind of weird that Pelosi, Romney, Joe, and whoever the hell the other one is, that all 4 of them have children on boards in energy companies in Ukraine with zero experience or anything.
It was somebody's son.
Yeah, it was 4 sons. 4 people that have been there for far too long.
You said Mitt Romney.
Yeah, Romney, Pelosi,
Schumer.
Joe, obviously. Might have been Schumer, but all of them, no offense. Again,
Schumer.
The whole world over there is horrifically corrupt. Go over there. You'll understand. That whole
either Schumer, Blinken, or Mayorkas, one of them 3 had a son or son-in-law or something over there. One of those 3.
All these no experienced people making all this money doing whatever.
Well, I'm with everyone that would ever say that, because I look at it like this. What I've kept up with in the most accurate figures I've tried to keep from the most reliable information I could get so far is we're close to $70 billion sent to Ukraine in a year. Okay, now let's back up for a minute. I want to know where every penny has went. Because for $70 billion, I can think of many things we could have done here to solve the problems on many fronts. We could have solved our illegal immigration problem with $70 billion.
The eminence front.
All people got to do is look this information. It's not that difficult.
Yeah, it's only a few.
I don't understand how we can have these things going. You have the Ukraine conflict. 70 billion is what I know of so far that I believe is fairly accurate. Then you have over here on this side of it, we have our fuel situation going, which is tied to Ukraine. It's tied to a couple other things.
Reminds me.
And then you come over here, you have our Senate and our House literally throwing their duties in their job in the garbage can for personal gain. But when somebody like you or me wants to have an honest conversation with somebody from the federal government on VA stuff, we can't do it. And if we do it, it takes 12 to 18 months to get responses back. But yet it baffles me. They can do a $40 billion bill advance through the House and the Senate in what, 9 days, 8 days? Come on. What? This is unacceptable. How long has it been Ann Arbor and Phoenix has been under investigations for the VAs? That's been years, probably going close to a decade or more now. Nothing's happened there. I'm just saying, there's a lot that has to be thought about before you can just ship another $40 billion out to somebody like that. Sorry, carry on.
What's accountability?
I'm rambling now.
What's accountability amongst friends? It's like I told Hannah. She filed her taxes forever ago. And so far, she looks at the IRS, all the number and everything that she got from, H&R Block, even her Social Security doesn't pop up this year. They haven't even touched. She was supposed to get her money 2 weeks ago. It still hasn't even hit their system yet. Funny though. I bet you if she owed them money, I bet you they would have been guarded. I bet you that would have went through and they'd be garnishing those wages by now. It's amazing how long you wait when you need something from them. But god damn, do they jump?
Very seldom do they let it go.
But they jump.
Have to be
really, but
you have to be somebody like me who's willing to give them such bad pushback. Like it just makes them go, okay, this guy's going to ruin our life. Like, let's just stop.
You can't ruin the government's life.
Well, I can make it so it's very difficult. I probably won't never win in a meaningful way, but I'll win the battle. I just won't win the war.
No, I'm not wasting my time fighting it. But regardless, we need something. They don't care. They need something. Jump all over it. It's like, January 6th, all hell broke loose. January 7th, they had impeachment papers drawn up. No investigation, no anything.
There's like a couple billion into adding more psych doctors.
They're never going
to. They don't have enough of that. Buy some primary care doctors up. That'd be good.
Hey, I finally get to go meet mine on.
Sorry, that's the whole conversation for another. We could do a whole show on the VA.
I get to meet mine on Tuesday. I mean, what can I help you with? Nothing. Why?
What I like you to help you with is a different story.
Because you're going to give me nothing. Why? Because none of you ever give me anything. And then there'll be the blank. Like, no, really, what? Nothing. Well, what the fuck is the point? What? Like, what? I'll tell you things. You'll type it up. I'll get like an X-ray. And a year later, you'll be fucking gone. And I'll be doing this with some other doctor 6 months after that. Oh, wait. Last time I had an appointment, it was like July, I think. Maybe July, whenever the hell I went home the first time. But that was because I was changing her oil the day we went up there. That was the last. So it's been almost a year since I had a doctor. So I just don't give anyway.
I also think back to the topic at hand, in regards to Ukraine, you can't have the amount of assistance that our country's given out going to them and then look at all the other countries that are in NATO that are supposedly in the same scenario, same boat as us, and there's a couple countries that supposedly have more at stake than we do, even, i.e., Germany, certain European countries who rely heavily on Russia. Ukraine said the other day, sorry, but they cut Russian oil off. Do I blame them? Absolutely not. I don't know why Ukraine didn't shut their oil down the day one. I would have blown their lines to hell day one, right at the border. I would have already done that. The moment I knew they were building up, before they were even done building up, I would have probably done it. I probably would have bombed at the beginning of February, just being me. But them lines should have been shut down in February before all this got to where it is now. That would have helped because his money would have stopped over a month ago, over 2 months ago. Wouldn't be happy. But here we are still sending all the money we are in military, logistical, humanitarian aid, sending all this money. Why can't we just cover, meet them in the middle? Why can't we just cover the military portion of it and let all the other countries do everything else? Why do we gotta do everything?
Well, we have to do more than all of them combined times 3.
And they
always
all
have to do that.
And I think it's at the point now where our financials are in this country. Guys like you and me and the average person should be able to ask, can I get a list of the GDP to pay ratio for NATO countries, please?
Well, that's why, there's this crazy thing that happened a few years ago. There was this guy, he said, either everyone's paying their fair share and we're not paying to police the whole world, or I'm leaving and I'm taking our money with us. And then suddenly it's amazing how many countries started actually spending money. And it's amazing. What you know,
the amount of money they're behind on.
You know what'll happen?
Another type of military fleet that no other country in the world could ever understand of because we had the money to go further. You
know how much money? It's like one of those. Either everyone pays their fair share or we're gone. They're all going. Like what? Because if we pull out our money, there won't be a NATO. What? NATO will die right there on the spot, dead. Yep. No amount of dark money coming in could save them.
We've always paid double, if not triple, every other member of that group.
Especially
Turkey,
when idiots are in
time
charge.
To stand up. If you're going to be part of NATO, you need to start cutting some Russian strings off. Not letting them control you like a puppet no more.
They never will.
Otherwise, peace.
They never will. They don't have it in them.
Well, that would take intestinal fortitude that none of them have.
Yeah, it's too bad, but they won't. We all know it. But all the money, never mind. That gets us into fun things like inflation, which everyone keeps blaming on everything. But here we go. Here's some numbers. Biden's inauguration day. 1.4%. Guess where it was the year before that too? 1.4% before even COVID hit. Well, we were at 1.4 before that. So please try to blame it on COVID and all the way. It was there before COVID. March 21st, he signs a $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill. We're up 2.6%. August of 2021, they proposed a $3.9 trillion budget plan. It's up 5.3%. November, Biden signs a $1 trillion infrastructure package, up to 6.8%. February, Ukrainian invasion, 7.9%. March, 8.5%. Ooh, it went down to 8.3%. Wages only went up 5.5%. So last I checked, that's only average. So those people have got a lot less than
they
that.
Didn't release April's number yet, did they?
So there's.
That probably won't be till Friday or Monday.
Well, last one I saw was 8.3. The last one they told anyone.
Did they report April's already?
Well, yeah, 8.3 was the last I saw.
Okay.
Again, God knows how truthful that actually is because it's coming from the same people that say it's transitory.
I feel like those numbers are probably accurate. They just don't include certain categories. And we know this. It's been proven that none of those include the categories that truly inflate.
Which is why we're up to 1,000,000%. But really, all I have to say just on that.
Be honest about it.
Look at the price of.
Think about it. You got gas, you got food, you got transportation.
Anything from eggs to gas and everything in between.
Your interest rates are going up.
Thank God I locked in at under. Thank God I locked in where I did in December of 2020.
If you added all the categories together that truly mattered, I bet you that inflation rate is between 12 and 15%.
Oh, I know. That's why they're not putting that number out there. because people have a coronary. Like people will actually fall over dead. There will be 1 million Fred Sanfords in the country. They will be having the big one, and I hate to break it to you people if you just listen to any of that or know anyone that doesn't believe it, but those are the numbers coming straight up from the government when all the but 8.3, and they didn't invade until February when it was at 7.9. So the other 6.5%, part of that was some COVID bill, was the COVID relief under Trump. I know, and we're not discounting that, because there was no GDP, but that we opened back up, and there were a lot of things that were opening up more by the end of his tenure, and suddenly, and he couldn't stop the Democrats who didn't want to give anyone any more relief until Joe Biden won the election. And suddenly they're all, screw it, send them money, and they haven't stopped since. I'm pretty sure 80% of the dollars,
not an exaggeration in any way, shape, or form.
80% of the dollars in circulation since 2020 have been printed. They did not exist. That is why we have inflation. It has nothing to do with Vladimir Putin invading Russia, because it was already way up before he did.
What's the percentage of that 40 billion that just got approved being printed on no asset backing?
Oh, and I'm sure all of it, because America, we don't have any more assets. We have idiots. We have idiots running everything. There's people yelling at me that inflation isn't real and he's doing a great job and he lowered the deficit. I'm like, wow. So he lowered the deficit for 1 year. What? Our national debt still went up. So he can, look, I spent this much less. I lowered the deficit a little bit. Yes, but you still up national debt, which still puts us doing one of these motions, because that's how this actually works. And look at my math grades.
Just think if we were pro North America and not pro
everyone but North America, everything but us, yeah,
or everything but us. We can't just be pro North America, which would help solve immigration issues.
Yeah, but those Democrats, they hate this country. So do the rhinos. Liz Cheney, I know you'll never hear this, but if you do, you hate it.
They're all good. I bet you they're all friends with Justin Trudeau.
Yeah, you really do hate the country. Everything you say and do, when you're going out and calling half the country sociopaths when they're also supposed to be your voting base, it's probably not a good move. And that probably
just look what Justin Trudeau's going. We are down the same
Justin Trudeau is batshit crazy and worthless.
We're going right down the same exact highway. Thanks, Joe.
He's batshit crazy.
Those two talk all the time.
No, Hillary and them talk all the time. He doesn't deal with Joe. He talks to Hillary. Remember, she's the one that broke all. She's the one doing talks with him around Afghanistan and all that.
That's true. You're very correct on that aspect.
How is Hillary Clinton calling anyone about this? Why? Because she's not in the.
Her strategical abilities, I just want to point out,
suck. But as she's not in the system, she shouldn't be getting any of these super classified.
And if you really want to be honest,
now she's technically just a regular civilian. She's nothing. So
when all that went down in Benghazi, the only one that was against that, and the only one that was against killing Osama bin Laden, when all that was going on, that's in power right now,
Joe Biden.
Joe, the only one. And now all of a sudden,
he's not known as being the brightest.
His administration is friendly with the Canadian Trudeau administration.
The crazy actual communists up north. Legit. But
they are.
He's friends
Freedoms with them. Are leaving quickly up there.
Yeah. And inflation rate runs in, again, food, everything. Food's the big one because people kind of need to
Canada, eat. Don't count them out. They hurt our inflation too. They're part of it.
When
their government's screwing up at the border, that screws us over.
I remember when it was, but someone was just hurting my brain. And I just read too much of the thread and like it's a world problem with inflation. It's like, like everyone's going up, but do you see the rate everyone else is skyrocketing us? But there's like 11 countries in the world, maybe tops, that are worse than us right now. Some of them are in war. So,
and some of them have just been there because they're broke.
Yeah. And some of them you're looking at going, yeah, that place sucks. I get that. But like they're not hemorrhaging money hand over fist. We're going to be there because we're just driving ourselves farther. But the US dollar is the prominent, like we are the world currency. When we suck, no matter what, the rest of the world's going to have a problem. It's going to go up. And our dollar tanks isn't good. Does it make the whole problem? No, but is it good for the world?
And look who's taking advantage of it right now.
And they were telling me that inflation has nothing to do with any of this spending, and it's all Putin and
little plastic doll-faced punk overseas.
Like it's all Putin. It's
just saying. Ed Renzi said it. 30% at most, maybe.
It's at Putin. So it's his invasion. Yeah. We were up 6.5% before he invaded anything. And they said the gas prices were all his fault. He's not helping, but when we stop, like, guess what? Look, everybody, look at the 1 million acres they just cut off in Alaska. What they're cutting, what our production is down. But that which means other bad people that we don't want to be running the whole entire world's oil are running it and can do whatever they want. But the gas prices here, like affecting our U.S. gas prices here, those prices, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I told them to look. I even sent them the chart. We got roughly 2 to 3% of our oil to produce and all that from Russia. We got most of it from Canada, which means that 3% wouldn't have caused a $2 increase. Yeah, but $1.58 since this time last year.
For here,
yeah, I'm saying just from this time last year, almost well over $1 increase. Like before he, like over that time, well over $1.
When Trump was still president,
before Russia did anything, we were already up over $1, and it's only 3%, which means no way in hell the gas like this. There might be some greed involved.
The whole point.
But you guys, but like 3% isn't going to do that. Corporate greed, yeah, it's not helping. But look at all their transporting they have to do now. Boats and trains and trucks. And
well, inflation. I can solve your inflation thing, and a good example of it is right here. When Trump left office, I paid $1.85 a gallon.
Amazing how fast it went up overnight.
Yesterday, I paid $4.57 a gallon with a discount.
I saw discount. And I saw some weird stuff on gas yesterday.
I want somebody to explain to me. That's more than double. That's almost triple, I feel like.
That's all Vladimir Putin's fault. Didn't you know?
But somehow it's Putin's fault. Well, explain to me how the $2.50 between Trump and Putin came about then. Just putting it out there.
Again, look at the numbers. And again, when you have people that produce it dirtier and then the stuff burns dirtier than ours, and you can say what you want, they only tell you number of land leases, which, by the way, they just got rid of 1 million in Alaska, which has enough oil under it to like supply the country for a very long time. They don't tell you how many permits. They only tell you how many land leases they never mention a word about. Guess what? You can have a land lease.
But if you ain't got no permit, you ain't doing anything.
No permit, you can't do nothing.
That goes to your climate stuff too, Ski. Just I want to touch this for a second. I'm not going to go on to
climate. Do it fast because we're almost there. I got pages.
They talk about climate control. Let's talk about these oil companies right now down south. They're operating almost solely on solar power. A lot of these places are operating on solar power. Majority of bigger rigs, not necessarily oil related, even fish farms, on water fish farms, aquaculture. Those are running fully almost on solar, every one of them almost. You can't tell me that our energy produced in this country with the amount of technology and engineering ability in our minds in this country, we can't produce one cleaner, produce more, and produce it more efficiently in the clean manner that we do here. But we're willing to put everything on that. Everything. I can't go past it because we put everything on.
Yeah, idiots are willing. We're not willing. Jackasses are, because they want to just see everything collapse, which is why I could pay, which makes no sense. But the little Walmart by my house, I know you look over my house, satellite, because you're a psychopath. The little Walmart at the end of my neighborhood has a gas station, 411. You know, remember where Little Caesars and the big Kmart was, and the Exxon on the corner there across from Jacksonville High School, over by the apartments? 439 in about a mile and a half. And then it also moves towards them trying to do the cashless society, because 411 easy pay, 421 if you're paying with cash. Like, well, like the dollar is still the dollar. I know the value sucks, but they're doing that. And yeah, it was up like astronomically before
now I will say
any of this happened.
Point on that topic, I'm not saying this is always the case, but I have seen like certain gas stations where my parents live, they don't buy gas as often as other gas stations, like any of these gas stations near me would. So with that being said, I will give those gas stations like that a complete pass, because they have to charge on what their last batch of gas costs. They get screwed no matter what, most, because they don't control prices.
See, and I get
they have to go off of what they pay. I just want to point out, but there are other ones like here, these ones right here by me, there's a terminal, no bullshit, a railway terminal and pipeline terminal 3 miles that way, literally.
Well, yeah, which is why I have a big problem with it here, because how many people live here? Because the military, no way in hell, no one's getting gas every day whenever they can. It's just physically, sorry, it's not happening. No, I mean, I hear even crazier things though. I think I told you about it last night. I don't know. That article that I saw that like gas stations up near DC are reprogramming so they can have double-digit first numbers. So it'd be like at least $10 a gallon, because never been in the system to have to do
and that. What did I say? One word.
And that we're going to run out. What they're doing this like
it may be a while, but one word that's going to end in one thing: a lawsuit.
Well, hell's going to break loose.
That will end in a lawsuit.
It's all amazing how all these things that they want to do, their agenda-wise, suddenly all those things are now conveniently falling apart to make our lives a living hell to get towards what.
And it bothers me. What is gas right now in DC? It's almost $6, right?
Yeah, it's 5 something.
Okay. If they're doing that, that means they truly, wholeheartedly, not only expect it, but they anticipate more than $9.99 a gallon. I'm sorry, ethically, I cannot stand by and go, okay, our leaders are willing to allow that to stand. I'm sorry, if I was in the government, I'd be pushing, be like, hey, look, no, we got to put a bill right now. We have to cap it. We cannot go past this.
Yeah, just that. I mean, there's that. And
nobody's doing that.
And when that keeps going up, no matter what, the inflation rate's going to keep going up, because they have to pay the truckers, and the truckers have to pay for gas to drive things places. And then truckers are going to start getting laid off. So there's less food and all that. And they're going to keep blaming it on everyone else except for the people in charge. Guess what? If COVID was Trump's fault when it came from China and he blocked all kinds of air travel and stuff when everyone else told him not to, he was still out there going.
I mean, just look at.
If that was all if everyone that died is his fault, then all of this is all of their fault. Why? Because everyone except for Joe Biden has been in office for 7,000 million years. And Joe Biden just took 400 years off. If you see his brain between 2016 and 2019, he turned into a goddamn.
And another part of that too that bothers me is you get going into. Just forgot part of what I was going to say.
I do that all the time. That's why you always see me writing stuff, because I'm the god.
We were talking about inflation. You just think about the gas prices and the diesel prices. Think about how much that diesel price per gallon truly affects the blue collar person. By the time that inflation alone hits a guy like you or me or the average American, you can get an example to use is the Masters. And it was on the news this morning. That's the only reason why I know these figures so much off the top of my head. A can of beer, $19 and $18. One of the younger pro golf players, I don't remember his name. I'm not a big golf follower. He said, I didn't say it because I can't afford it. I said it because who that comes and watches us can afford an $18 can of beer?
Was it Justin Thomas or Dave? Like
maybe I don't know.
Davis.
It was a young guy.
It was a bigger name.
Yeah.
I saw that last night. My whole thing
of it is his point was that beer that's $18 just a couple of years ago might have cost you $8 at an event. Now it's $18. My last time I went to Faster Horses was 2016. A 24-ounce can of beer was $8. Yeah. The last time I went to an individual concert was Fisher, Indiana. When I went there, that was 2017. Went and seen Cole Swindle. That one,
Swindle.
I only paid $9 a can, and that's because I paid to get an extra cup on the first one. Then everything after that was $6 because it went into my cup.
Yeah, whenever I went to festivals,
I'm just saying.
Seems
just within a few years ago.
But that was actually roughly just barely over 4 years ago. It was the 24 ounces. It was
let's do this.
It was
what was a can of beer in 2000? Well, we can't use 2021 because
damn it, I'm getting through it. I'll shut up.
Go ahead.
Jesus Christ, this guy. 2018 at the festivals. The 24-ounce cans, even though I think they're down to the 16. That's the stingy bastards. But it was $8 for, no, it was 8 or 9 for Budweiser, Bud Light, any of the normal.
24-ounce can.
Yeah, $1 more for a strawberry or a lime burrito, which I don't understand why people didn't get those. And you get the extra alcohol kick if you're going to spend that much. Might as well go big. And bottles of water were $8. When I went to the football game in 19, before I decided to play Frogger for real, I was at a stadium, but I was, so it's going to be, no matter what, you go to a stadium, it's going to cost more. I think they were, and I was getting the good stuff. So don't you worry. If I'm going to spend that much money, it's going to be good.
I only paid $8.50
and I was
at the Red Wings game.
And I was getting Devil's Backbone for, it was the big bastards. I want to say it was about 12, 13. But it was in a stadium. And I got a free one. If you finish that fast, I'll give you a refill. What? Thank you. But that was that. The concerts here in town, when the big mostly the bottles, but those were only like $7-8 a beer. So, and that was including everything. Now when I go there, the idiot redid the Tar Heel, and now it's the Limelight Crockett. But they were around 11, 12, I think, suddenly, and that was just a regular bottle. But if you go to Hooligans, there's still, I want to say, like $5-6, which compared to things like, but that's a little venue that's able to pull that off. You've been to Hooligans, I'm sure. It's not like it's the biggest building on the planet, or they don't really sell it.
They're gonna have to raise the prices at the Legion.
Oh yeah, like that's gonna happen. And again, racetrack and football stadiums, I never really count them, but when we went to Darlington last September, I got what was it? 2 or 3 tall boy Busch Lights. Honestly, don't remember. It could have been 4 for all I know. I don't know. Not in the size of that, but and a cooler and ice and 2 koozies for like, I think it was like $15, which when you think about it, was like, that wasn't that bad. But again, NASCAR track, it wasn't inside the stadium. It was Busch doing their stand down by Harvick's car and all that for but that was that. But inside the track wasn't that bad. I think they only wanted like $8 for domestics. Which,
that's probably going to be the least inflated.
Yeah, NASCAR isn't going to get. NASCAR's not going to beat their beer drinkers to death, unless, of course, Joey Logano wins at Talladega again under caution that they shouldn't have thrown because, Like what? I think it was him. Like what? You're not allowed to go get the flag. What? Go to Victory Lane. Those are very large cans flying over to that, but lots of them. And you can see it on TV as he's coming around. That was bad. But it got ridiculous. It was Justin Thomas. It had to be Justin Thomas. I wouldn't think of anyone else's name. But he's on to something there. Like
golfer.
He said, if I'm looking at this going, what the hell do you think? Like, you want people
Well,
to actually come out to the events and put in, like, these events aren't going to exist.
To do this, we make more money.
You want people to show up.
Look, we're screwing the little guy. Yeah, that's all I was saying. Like,
you want people to show up.
It's horrible.
If you want people to show up, how about without the fans, they can have all the sponsors they want. No one's watching it. No one's watching it. There will be no sponsors.
Somebody made the statement. I don't remember who it was.
I said this for years.
You could go to that. You don't go to a Masters tournament thinking about, I'm going to go there and buy beers. Well, I'm sorry, but you're usually playing 18 holes at a tournament. If you're walking at me, you're going to drink something. After a certain point, you got to drink something other than just water, because you have to get other things than just water in your system, especially if
you need those
hot out.
Yeah, you need those carbs when you're standing out there in direct sunlight.
A bottle of Gatorade was
still going to cost it's going to be $12-15. Yeah, had to be. But it shows the inflation thing. And he's jumping up there. Jeff Bezos is jumping out there, but I really think he's just trying to set everything in motion now that we see how good the midterms are going, which don't worry, we'll get to at the end of it all.
I think there's some true. I think
there's some truth behind
sincerity and honesty though coming out of Jeff right now, because he knows that these people are getting ready to go after him, Elon Musk, anybody that's got money, they're going to go after.
They're not going after Elon Musk. They could try.
Well, they're going to try. I'm saying.
He throws a hissy fit over that. Elon Musk's like, well, look at your taxes. Here you go.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Oh. And all you people saying, but Tesla didn't pay any taxes in the U.S. Why? Because Tesla actually made negative dollars in the U.S. last year, which means they had no income that you could actually tax because they were in the hole. Before anyone freaks out about that, you can't tax negative millions of dollars. What? It's negative. They didn't earn.
And I also seen, I'll have to verify it next week, but because it happened literally just before we started the show, probably 15, 20 minutes. I got a notification stating that more than half of the Twitter followers that Joe Biden has on Twitter
I saw that yesterday.
are bots or spam.
Yeah. At least 11 million are bots. Yeah. And shout out to Joe Biden for apparently when he gave some kind of something yesterday for the whopping 821 people that tuned in on whitehouse.gov to watch him. One person that has lower numbers than that is me. Damn. Little kids, like, you're fired. But as we're on gas prices, before we move on to one quick, shortages are going to keep getting worse. Sooner or later, what I said to Drew is, the diesel prices are going to, y'all are going to start getting laid off. Why? Because it's going to come, when it comes down to one thing, making money. They're not going to be spending that much money to pay for fuel when it's going this high for that many trucks to drive that many miles. They will figure out another way.
What was the government killing off that would totally save us right now? What were they killing off? Railway freight lines. Railway freight lines.
Yeah, that too. They're killing everything, really.
Well, I mean, we want to be climate safe, right? Like, I feel like it'd be less detrimental to our climate if we had one train that can account for hundreds of semis. You're telling me it's not less carbon footprint for one train versus all them semis running? I'm not saying I want to take the truckers' jobs away, but
don't worry, the truckers are going away.
They have their part in it too.
No matter what, they have to drive stuff. Yeah.
But you've killed it all, and you can't tell me that airplanes are more fuel efficient than trains. I have a hard time believing that.
Hey, didn't you know? Big old freighters out to bring oil from overseas over here are more efficient than pipelines. They cut off the pipelines. Well, and she's trying to get rid of other pipelines. Like, wow, so then we have to transport it by trains and trucks and big old cargo freighters and like oil tankers.
Which is more friendly to
the ocean, which emits carbon, unlike pipelines, which have zero. Nada.
Are we moving to climate control? Is that what we're doing?
No, we're almost there. But I'm just saying shortages, like, they're going to get worse because they just. And you can see other countries that are near us that aren't having any baby formula issues. It's just something that they've known about for at
maybe
least
it has something to do with the
they've done FDA.
I'm going to say it outright: the metric shit ton stockpile at the southern border.
Oh yeah, but I mean, it's what happens when you
I don't even like
to like to shatter records. Lady,
I hope she takes it to him. What's her name? That's Stefanik chick.
The lady that Joy Behar and all them were warning and threatening the other day on The View that they were coming for her. That's completely acceptable to say in front of the whole goddamn world. I quoted Joe Biden on an episode of this show and YouTube threw it off. But guess what? His video saying the same fucking thing is still on YouTube and it didn't get marked as fucking information. Think I forgot. Every time I have to upload something, I see that little warning. My little warning number. What? And I quoted his ass, but he's still on there. But he doesn't have a warning. Yeah, but don't worry. Yeah, the lady that they were all threatening. Yeah, super sweet people, everyone. Yeah, remember they're the nice, peaceful, happy party, and we're the ranting, we're the ranting, raving sociopaths. Yeah, bring race and violence into everything. But border, I mean, all I'm gonna say is he shattered his old record from April of 222,144. Somehow, Joe. I mean that Trevor Noah guy was right. What? Inflation's up, gas is up, homes are up. Illegal immigration is up. Like everything's up, but he shattered his old record. Now, last time I was 234,088 people came across the border, and Title 42 is still a thing. And allegedly, they allowed over 118,000 to stay and let them come into the country. Yeah. Like, I hate to break it to you guys, but it's happening. It's very real. They're trying to do all this stuff. They're spending all kinds of money on that they're not telling anyone about, that's not in any of these bills, which is what's driving up everything, which is going to keep making inflation worse, which is why we don't have shortages, because there's millions of people. Like, he's allowed over 2.5 million almost at this point to come into the damn thing already in 15, 16 months. And we're all screwed until everyone on the right makes everyone on the left, what you're going to have to say the uncomfortable things. And all you people on like the other side, to the Drews of the world, you're going to have to actually look and comprehend numbers. I know it's very, very hard, but holy shit. That one's bigger than that one, and that one's way bigger than that one. Holy shit,
Make you question something, wouldn't it?
He shattered Trump's last 3 years in 15 months. That's why we're having all kinds of problems with all kinds of stuff. That's why we went from 78,000 overdose deaths to 100,000 in 1 year. Like, there's all kinds of extra stuff coming in because no one gives a damn, because they keep saying there isn't a problem and there's only so many border agents to take care of the giant cluster fuck that is the bottom of our country.
Well, I just want you to know there's 4 states that border that country down there. There's 4 states on that border. And I'm going to say in order of states who has the most wall. And I looked this up, so it's accurate straight from the Border Patrol's websites.
They have fine numbers.
California has the most wall on their percentage of border, the most percentage of wall to their border. Next in line is Arizona. Next in line is New Mexico. But then you go to Texas.
So we went from this much border to this much border to this much border to this much
border. But their borders, every single one of them, the majority of them, more than 80 on every single one of those 3 is covered with a wall of some form, or at least a somewhat high fence with some serious C-wire at top. So you have that border of those 3 states mostly covered. And there's not many sneakers over there. But yet you go to Texas, the largest border, and it has the most coming through, and it has the least amount of walling.
At least in their defense, for percentage-wise. Their border with Mexico is bigger than like all those other states combined.
Yeah, they actually, if you want to be technical, there's 400. I measured it out. It was roughly 452 miles of the Texas border can literally not be walled because they're mountains. Well, I'm going to say this in the open. I don't care who argues with me; they'll never win. Outside of that 452 approximate miles, every other square inch should have a wall.
And a lot of them are even points. And a lot of them are either green entry too. A lot of them are green energy proficient, the stuff they were going to do. Like, so
They
they were
killed that.
self-sustaining. Yeah, like they were
They were trying to
self-sustainable.
do what Israel's doing. They're trying to make their wall, their border, as beneficial as possible. Why is that so wrong for us? And I said this a couple of weeks ago. There's a nice thing that was put out there for the government to go off of for an idea of how to solve our border crisis and also gain from it. I talked about this. You and I talked about it. You could have had a wall that carried water, natural gas, oil. You could have made it so people didn't have to necessarily go all the way around to LA. They could have came to the other side of Texas and went, boom, hit shot. There's my natural gas. There's my oil coming in. Hey, just putting that out there. That was never addressed. Could have had them lined with solar panels. Didn't do that. I'm not a big fan of wind energy, but they were going to do that at each end of the border out in the water. I'd rather have it set off the side of the coast 20, 30 miles and have it in a wind farm than right on the ground where when those blades come off, they destroy so much of the ecosystem. It ain't even funny. It's a lot easier to clean up a blade out of the water that's going to sit there and float because it's sealed. Come on now. I'm just saying there's less damage done that way. I just don't like wind energy because it's not efficient. There's no way to recycle blades. That's bullshit.
And we're going to get into it, but what's that stuff that's inside of them so they can, stay lubricated and keep turning? What's that stuff in there? It's that
grease.
Fluid. Yeah, there's grease
and hydraulic oil
and stuff inside of it to go that way, which means it's not even technically, because if it leaks, the amount in there causes a cluster of bad things leaking all over the place. You ever seen one of those
which we have seen on top of them go haywire? Wow. That looks like somebody shot it with a bomb. Literally. It's nuts.
Yep. But people don't understand.
I haven't got them yet. There's some numbers I want to talk about, but I haven't gotten them yet because they made it very difficult to find them. I am going to find a list of all the gotaways by month since Joe Biden took office. I will find that list. I'll get one.
Hell, you see just mile-long convoys of people just walking. And
I want the known gotaways. I'm going to take that, times it by 3, and that's how many people actually got it away. Numerous times I've heard people say the ratio is 1 to 2. That would be 3 people. So for every one that comes over, there's 2 more we don't even know about. Well, if we have, since he came into office, 160,000
billion
gotaways, well, you just went to almost 50. What is that? 52. So that's 520,000 gotaways. But I know that number is higher than that.
Oh, that number's way higher than that. Way
600,000 just for this year already that they know of. Well, if you know 600,000 got away, we're at 1.8 million gotaways.
Yeah. That's bigger than most cities.
It's bullshit.
Yeah. People don't care though. Remember, we're mean, racist people. We're very mean, very evil. Because I think if they can take you and Hannah's and everyone else's taxpayer dollars to spend $11 million on a wall around Joe Biden's, beach house in Delaware, which we also paid for, and Mark Zuckerberg can have a wall, and Bezos and all the 1%ers in their fancy, neighborhoods with gated communities. And I think if they can all have walls, and every other country has walls pretty much for the board.
I wanted to put an 8-foot fence up. That was too much.
I'm pretty sure we should have a wall as a country. I'm just
8-foot fence is all I asked for. That's too much. The city only let me have a 6-foot fence. Like what?
Yeah, that's all I want. But like if everyone else can have it, why is doing it in the country? Like if it's for their security, wouldn't that mean it's good for?
Oh, you also can't have a concrete wall. It has to be fence, like vinyl fencing or wood or chain link. It cannot be concrete or bricks or anything like that. Anything decorative cannot be like that.
Well, that's technically not a fence anymore. What that is. That's a wall.
I want a perimeter.
Yeah,
it didn't matter.
Hey, I'm on your side there. Technically, once you start throwing mortar involved in it, well, that's no longer a fence. That's a crash test object for
stupid.
Yeah, that's what that is. But I get to the climate stuff. I mean, there's a lot of idiocy, and again, all of this happening right now has to do with the people that they elected in and listened to, and all their getting rid of land leases and doing all like so many things got put, stopping pipelines, wanting to get rid of pipelines so they could use stuff that burns up the ozone layer even faster, which again makes zero sense if you actually can cognitively comprehend things and think, which apparently anyone that told me that he was completely mentally
answered, but I don't know if I could ever answer. I don't mentally fit. Don't know the numbers, but if somebody could answer this question, it'd be nice. How much solar farm surface area would it take to offset oil? One. Secondly, how much
a good question there.
Surface area would it take to transport oil? Nowhere near the amount of solar farm area needed to equal the oil. So I can have 100-foot wide stretch for however many miles of pipe I need for oil lines. Okay. I know this in natural gas lines because my parents live a couple hundred meters from one. With that being said, you take out the amount of trees you cut down for that. Okay. And then you compare it to the amount of trees you have to cut down to set up solar farms. So now you're either going to, one, cut down more trees to create solar farms, or you're going to eliminate farmland to create solar farms. Well, right there, boom, off the gate, I'm against that. If you're killing farmland and doing anything else on it, that's wrong. Secondly, I don't even like cutting down trees to create more farmland, because the more trees you have, the less CO2 or carbon dioxide, whatever. Carbon dioxide, the less the less of that you would have.
You were right.
So you take the more trees you have, the less CO2. Well, if you're cutting more and more trees down and more down to create solar farms, your CO2 levels are going to start going up. Granted, you're not burning the oil, but now you're creating more problems because there's less trees. You want to be a climate control oriented? That's great. I have within...
Use your brain.
I have 9 federal buildings within 5 or 8 miles of here. Okay. So with that being said, I looked it up the other day. I sent you a couple of pictures of some of them. Not one of them has solar systems set up on their building's roof.
Hey, don't worry, I got stuff on that.
But yeah, they're gonna push the solar farms. Well, before I ever see one more solar farm built, I should see every federal building owned, from Maine to Florida to the southern tip of California to Spokane, Washington. Every single federal building should have it completely covered with solar arrays. And until then, there should never be one more tree cut down,
and they're using
square foot of farmland converted for it.
And they're using way more juice than we ever could at those buildings.
That's
way more. Way.
The casino.
Way.
The casino right over here in Battle Creek. Yes. They have a solar array farm outside all the way around their water retention. And then they have solar fields set up on top of their buildings. Okay. They have that. That's an Indian-owned casino. You come right over here. Consumers Energy, 2.5 miles that way. They own a majority of the energy supply, transfer, and production in the state of Michigan. They have 0 solar arrays on buildings. Now, I will give them credit. They do have solar farms, but that goes back into the other problem. Now they've eliminated trees for the farm.
Don't worry. I have
to corrupt.
Down.
It's corrupt.
It's just idiotic. Now, anyone that says they're really dumb. Like most of them, anyone that ever pushes it is really dumb, to include people that want to argue with me. But don't worry.
I'm all for eliminating as much use of oil as we can, but you got to use some common sense.
It's not sustainable. Hello, rolling blackouts, California. That says it all. Why? Because they're most green anything. What? And they lose power at some points during the day because they can't actually.
I live in the southern, the lower peninsula of Michigan. There should be no such thing as a rolling blackout in Michigan.
You know that the Richies, the Richies aren't losing power. Regular people, they have to deal with rolling blackouts, but those 1%ers, they're not losing power.
Well, Ford does. They have to go into energy backup. They have to wait for the generators to kick on. So then they got to go through and reset all their machines.
But they're doing all of that. And again, like the Subaru and all, we planted this many trees. Like, how about we just do proper forest management? Like,
That's
because
another thing.
You are not planting enough trees to offset what is getting burnt down and torn down, because heaven forbid we could just use pre-existing buildings. Like, they literally just tore down another chunk. I don't remember where the fuck it is at this point, but they cut down another one, literally not even a quarter mile up the road over by the Publix that they built over here by me. When on the far side of the property there's already a strip mall. Oh yeah, they built a new one next to Walmart, the little Walmart. They took down, they decided we needed another one. Granted, there weren't any trees there, but they decided we needed another strip mall, even though the one literally, okay, that one might be a quarter, half mile down the road. Literally has a Wingstop in it, and the other three are still empty. But instead of filling those, they decided to build stuff and more equipment running and all that, and more electric harm being used to power one right next to Walmart when there's already empty ones. Like,
now, there's another example. What is used to make those buildings? Concrete. Okay. What is severely energy drawing to make? Concrete. So you have a building with one of 4 units used. And instead of filling these 3 units and not producing more concrete, you decide to build another building. That right there goes against climate.
All the wires, all the wiring, and all the electrical that then has to be used to power a whole entire building, when one thing's being used, and another building, instead of just putting your jewelry shop and your vape shop in the available things literally 10 feet down the road. Guess what? There's a Home Goods, there's an Ulta, there's a Publix, all right there. That means, and there's the Michaels is there now. That means people use the shopping center. Put something besides Wingstop, but I mean, I don't care what it is. Like, that's corporate greed right there. They find the cheapest rent and they go to it. That isn't helping anything. And then I got into it, like the electric car thing with Pete Buttigieg. Thank you, Mayor Pete. What'd you buy? An electric car? Yeah, pal. Well, I'll just go and drop 60, 80 grand on an electric car, which, hold on. What do they run on?
Battery.
What do they do to the earth to get the lithium?
Mine a metric shit ton of property. Which square footage of dirt and stuff that comes out of the ground.
Which then destroys
you're well below
and releases CO2 emissions for all, no matter what, all the equipment, and then people in third world dumps are making them.
Everybody bitches about the heat warming up and the glaciers and everything melting. What's dead center of the earth? Magma. The closer you get to it, what comes out of it? Warmer and warmer temperatures. So when you're going hundreds and hundreds of feet into the ground, you're releasing lots and lots of heat. You don't think that don't hurt? You took more trees out. That creates more heat because there's less ground covering. Trees are key in a lot of this because it takes CO2 out. It creates more ground covering, which allows the earth to stay cooler, which allows the surface to not get destroyed. Therefore, you don't have glaciers melting. There's a lot that goes into this. And then actually, I think that if certain people involved with the climate right now, climate control stuff, such as John Kerry,
he's just
not trying to turn this into a political cannabis thing.
He's just a tool.
If those people could shut up for 5 minutes, step across the line and talk to some true cannabis growers. There's a guy in California that owns a company in LA.
Never mind that. Talk to people that have brains. Let's talk to someone.
Their whole entire outfit is under the concrete highway in LA. You have to go down an elevator shaft under the highway to get to his outfit. He has used unused space that was just sitting there going to waste. He's completely converted to an indoor grow facility and didn't tear up 1 square inch of new ground to do it. Hey. Now, help him out. He can't put a solar array on his roof because his roof is a highway. So he can't do that. Like, you block the highway for a solar array. But my whole thing of it is like, there's those people, you got cannabis people that are 100% reuse everything. They don't throw away any other material from their plants. They don't waste anything. Those guys are so natural. There's so much naturalist versus climate control activists. And I say the difference because climate control activists are not truly climate aware. John Kerry's the biggest hypocrite of them all.
No,
that dude flies around everywhere on a personal jet. Dude, hop on a coach plane and fly with people who are just recently or veterans who've been out for 30 years. Fly on a plane with them guys and run your mouth, say the things that come out there just stupid or ignorant, and don't think you're not going to get corrected. And that's the reason he doesn't fly coach. He doesn't fly public planes because he knows the very first time he get his ass handed.
And he just thinks he's better than all of us. He's always been a snooty. I'm better than you. Which is why you lost all those times, by the way, John.
The FAA will let him do that.
Why you lost. And Joe Biden's 86 car convoy to drive 10 feet across Paris.
Well, my thing is the FAA is a federal outfit. They allow John Kerry to drive an individual plane everywhere he goes for climate control activism. Hey. But yet the FAA will not approve the test of the Starship in the outer space.
Hey, look.
Come again?
Look, what federal? There's the problem with it.
No, I'm saying there's a lot of I could list it back.
Me too. It's run by idiots. Hell, I think that's one of the first words in the description of this exact show. What hypocrisy and stupid. I don't like either of them, but yeah, them. And what do we need? What the hell do you need to use to charge those electric cars? Back on topic. You got to plug that into
electrical, which is ran by electricity, which is produced in most states by one of two things: coal. Well, in the states, it's
coal,
usually one
diesel.
of two things: coal, diesel,
natural gas.
I put them together because sometimes I think they both run to make them. But there's that side of it, the coal and diesel side of it, and then there's nuclear. Everybody agrees nuclear, but
no, don't worry, we're getting to that. I'm trying to get through all because they hurt my head. But yeah, you need all of that, which means you're burning more by plugging it in. There's no emissions, but but those things have to work a lot harder. You say, oh, it doesn't raise your bill up. Like you're still burning more electricity, which is burning more fossil fuels to keep those things running around the clock to meet the demand. And Elon Musk said they're unsustainable. But my real big one, again, we already talked about wind. Kills bird populations. They have all kinds of oil and grease and all kinds of things in them just to make them function. So guess what? They're actually not really green at all.
How do you put all that stuff up?
And they can't be recycled, just like equipment. And they can't be recycled either, just like these lithium ion. Just like the
crane alone. That crane alone. Bastard. What's it take to transport the crane? What's it take for that crane to operate? You're talking about. I don't see those kind of cranes very often. There's one right now in Ann Arbor because U of M is adding another building. Those cranes ain't easy to just transporting alone from one job site to another is quite the feat.
Yeah, and again, they just kind of have open fields of old blades and lithium-ion batteries that they can't do anything with, just sitting there and rotting, which is super good for the environment.
I have an idea for those blades.
Oh,
I've seen a guy that tests building and test designing right now. Building houses out of it.
Yeah.
Well, that brings up another point in my mind. We got a lot of those blades. There's a southern border that needs to be blocked off. If that guy can put plates and put yokes in the bottom of them and mount them to the ground to build a house, why can't we do the same thing for a border wall?
Be decorative
and do the exact same thing with those that we were doing with the metal wall that Trump was building.
I think we talked. My sisters were talking about how we should use them to build like camps, like actual houses and tiny homes for like homeless people.
There's one out west that's doing it for homeless veterans.
Yeah, they should do that. And when it comes down to a lot of the idiocy, because no matter what, I'm sorry, you're all lunatics. Like you're all actually insane. And I will bring up, someone was losing their mind on me. Like, I don't know why people just can't actually read the whole thing. I said, like, nuclear, good, all this good, but all I said was, we could do what Pocono Raceway did. They converted a campground that they already had to be their solar farm so they could pump. So then they power themselves with that when they're open, but they pump the rest into the grid for other people to use, which brings the price of everyone's stuff down and it burns less. And they used an already torn up, already leveled. Yeah, it was a campground for the racetrack for forever. They turned that into one. Helps everyone out. They built the new CEB barracks and They have a parking garage, the new headquarters building out. Like, it's ginormous. It's beautiful. Good for you. Courthouse Bay. At least you got something pretty on there.
I'm glad you said that about the racetrack.
They have solar farms on top of.
Because I was thinking about this a couple weeks ago.
Every racetrack could do it.
The fact that you said it just blew my mind, because somebody else has thought along that lines there. Why can't racetracks like MIS, we have enough parking for a lot. I don't know if you've ever really seen the actual grounds at MIS, but the parking is
you have
huge.
Way more parking than you could ever fill anymore.
Why can't we build carports, which would then provide shade for the cars? But instead of building a roof like a normal carport, use solar panels. Because then, just like you said, they run 4 or 5 events throughout the year out there, and the rest of it is nothing. It just sits there all the time. Those panels would produce probably 300 out of 365 days a year, a full day's worth of solar. I'm saying 65 less because this is Michigan. You're going to have snow and rain problems here. But with that being said, MIS has enough square footage in just their parking alone. If they did that, dude, do you know how much our cost could come down in Michigan just from MIS?
Pumping back into the local grid.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, where is, you know what? I'm going to call Carl. I'm calling him on that. He works for that energy efficient group over there. Yeah, I'm going to talk. Anyways, sorry.
I'm just saying. I might be
squirrel moment.
Leave it to NASCAR to be the ones to do that. Yeah, and a lot of those tracks, I'm sorry, their parking lots and all that are in campgrounds and all, like, they're far too, the bubble has burst. You're never going to fill them all up with people ever again at most tracks.
The only time they fill MIS now is for music festivals.
Yeah, you could completely you could change the whole entire game right there. A lot of the tracks are out in the middle of nowhere and could do it. As long as you're bumping into it's going to be there no matter what.
All the buildings at MIS could have solar roofs on it, except for the spotters area.
Yeah, they could do. Well, it'd be hard. If they could figure out that one, that would be cool. Insane. But to see how they would have where the spotters are and solar panels simultaneously, that would be something.
Yeah.
Think about the Pentagon if they've completely covered. I mean, like,
they do that. I'm going to work for NASCAR.
The amount of stuff they could do at all these places would help so much, just as everyone says they love. And I got my head torn off for it. I was like, I said nuclear was good up there. Like, did you read the whole thing? And then they didn't say anything back. Like, yeah, well, glad you're, now I know you feel like an ass, but thank you.
And then if you want to use the meltdowns, I know we've talked about it before.
Don't worry. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I have a whole page on it. Whole page. I was like, the solar thing is just a thing. And my big closing one is no matter how much they plant, like, look how long it takes these trees to produce. They actually functioning with it. What about him?
I think the fastest one would be, we talked about tree coverage before. But if you're going to use spruce, I hope they're using eastern white pines, because if they're not going to get the most efficiency out of them. Eastern white pine would be the fastest, and you're talking maybe 12 years at the fastest. Before it starts truly offsetting.
You could do
blue spruces and the other shit they use for a lot of these places. You're talking 18, 20 years before they truly start.
You could use hemp.
And that could solve a lot more problems and kill the whole energy killing concrete shit. Because you can make hempcrete, you can make fabric, you can make a lot of things out of.
And guess what? It's all said and done in just a few months, and you could start over. It continuously produces, and you can make all kinds of stuff out of it instead of waiting decades for trees to be able to do anything. It'll be continuously running around the clock. Start, boom, next month, boom. So no matter what, it's still going. And guess what? It's a plant. It needs photosynthesis. It still does all the same things.
And if you think about it,
functional for wood, concrete, fabric, areas, you name it.
And I'm not even going to say in California, just across the U.S. as a whole, these areas where they, not to say every single year, but they're the ones that continuously get hammered with wildfires. Maybe planting trees there ain't the way to go. Maybe those should be the areas where you're planting things like hemp. So that way, when that time of the year comes, like April and May, when everything decides to go up in a blaze, there's no trees for it to just nuke like it does. Let's be honest. That's what it does. When wildfires happen in areas like that, it nukes the ground.
Yeah.
There's no living anything left.
That was my big one. I figured you'd like. I mean, that one's like common sense right there, people. I mean,
And you could take those places like that. You throw hemp down on the ground. It's not even going to be up high enough to be. It season wise, it wouldn't work out to where you could have the fires like that. I'm sorry,
it does the same thing, and you can get through.
And I wouldn't be surprised if you were to grow hemp if it wouldn't take more out yearly than the first 18 years of a spruce tree.
Yeah, the wildfire. I mean, just because you continuously do it, and it's not.
You also got to take into consideration when they had them wildfires.
This big. The plant's this big. Wildfire compared to there's a lot less to burn and destroy and release into the atmosphere. You can get 2 or 3 cycles through. You can get probably roughly 2 or so whole cycles through before fire season even came around. I hate to say fire season, but I mean, it happens at the same time every year in the same places.
Yeah.
You could, and because you plant those trees, guess what? You're planting trees there, and then they're getting burnt to the ground anyway.
Well, not just that. When they had them wildfires, you think they go back and clean everything up before they plant more? No. So all that stuff that didn't completely burn off that you just left there, that is kindling for next year's fire. Yeah. That goes back to what you said a minute ago, though, back to your forest management. If you don't manage your forest, you're going to have problems. You got to keep the underbrush clean. People don't think about that. You go to Kentucky, look at them damn farm fields, man. All of them farm fields all over down there, minus the ones that have been destroyed last year from that big flood, minus that area. Most of the places around there, if they have farm fields, if you look at all their hedgerows, whether it's the roadside, on the edges, or even the far back, the hedgerows are maintained and clean.
Yeah, and you look at like cattle farmers, like on big ranches and places where, like they go through every year, and they control burn like all their dry stuff. Why? Because like they go through and do all of that. And granted, they do it because, the fresh grass will grow out of the burn the next year. It's not necessarily burn down trees, but they still protect, like it burned through all the really dry, need to start fresh stuff. And like they take.
Then if you start managing the burns, guess what's going to happen?
Look at all
CO2 is going to come down even more because now you're not
releasing all
having nuclear forest fires.
Now you're not blowing a hole in the ozone layer just like that.
It's common sense.
It's common sense. It's common sense. It's easy stuff.
Learn how to grow a garden, and that'll solve the world's problems.
And again, I got like my head bit off, and I just sat there and just smiled.
Well, anyone that would honestly think that thought process is wrong, and this is in defense of anyone that would think like you just said, anyone that thinks like that, they're never going to be wrong. And anyone that tells them they're wrong, all you have to do is say, "Tell me, does a white pine take out more CO2 than a blue spruce?" If they can't say which one does, they should have nothing to do with anything to do with climate control. I want John Kerry to answer that. Which oak produces, which oak sucks out more CO2?
Oh, which one there we go. There we go. Boom. It was that cocksucker's kid that's on an energy. That's in an Pelosi, Joe Biden, Mitt Romney.
I had a feeling there was one.
And that piece of shit was number 4. Thank you.
I told you.
See, I knew it was still going, what? It has to be. There's so many dirty people. John Kerry, the climate czar extraordinaire. Last time I checked, the only people that had czars were fucking commies.
Crookeds.
One. But thank you. And I got my head blown off. I was on something because someone posted Netflix doing a thing about Chernobyl. Like what they're putting it down, like, because you hear nothing about what it's green. Never mind, we need to get rid of all that. Like, otherwise, it's just to put it down. And again, I was talking about the solar panels on top of the buildings. Well, it's like, dude, what? Read the whole thing. I said windmills suck. Solar is okay in some places because it'll at least help the impact, but they should stop butchering nuclear. And that's the only reason why Netflix of all people was putting it out. That's the only reason why Netflix
quit doing the damn subsidies. Then that's another thing. If they would quit doing the damn subsidies on solar power, and people think I'm nuts when I say this, but if you stop the solar power subsidies from our federal government,
it's just
the first and second year, it's going to be miserable in cost. Guaranteed. The third year, I put my life on this. You would see the cost come down tremendously.
Well, it's kind of like
because in a capitalist world like the original U.S. democracy would normally do, demand and cost have a lot to do with each other.
It also hits student loans got them out of the federal sling, so they weren't guaranteed.
Oh, yeah.
The price would come immensely down. But as we're running forever here, nuclear stuff. So I looked up a lot, obviously. And all of my big stats come from the government themselves on the EIA website, EIA.gov. But obviously, we all know it's clean and it emits 0 carbon emissions, by the way. All you happy people out there.
And just in a side note, because you said something about Chernobyl, anyone that likes to bring that up as an example. Oh, okay. I thought you were done with that one.
Oh, no. We're getting to nuclear now. That's the one they're making the documentary on. Like, why? Or is it 3 Mile Island? Either way, like they're just doing it. Why? It's Netflix. It's a schmear campaign. Yes.
They're only doing it because they're having issues right now because of Russia.
When the government, schmear. It's not a smear. It's a schmear when these idiots are involved. But again, 3 types of waste: high level, transuranic, and low level waste. There's over 85 tons of nuclear, spent nuclear waste from facilities. There's over 90 million gallons of waste from nuclear weapons programs, obviously. And there's numbers, but there's anywhere roughly, from what I've seen, and most of it is 58 active nuclear power plants in the U.S., 93 active, reactors across 29 states. Illinois has the most plants and reactors with 6 plants and 11 reactors. PA, New York, South Carolina have 4 plants, and Pennsylvania has 8 reactors. South Carolina has 7. Alabama, Florida, New York, and North Carolina have 5. Percentage of energy produced by New Hampshire, 59% of their energy is nuclear. South Carolina is at 53%, Illinois is at 52%, Tennessee is at 44%, Connecticut, New Jersey's at 43%, and literally just under 20% of our country's energy is, for all you people freaking out about it, is produced by nuclear power at like 9.
Does that exclude micro plants? It does or doesn't?
I don't believe it does. Hey, that's
just going from
the That's just going from the government. There's a lot that they've been taking away, a lot of them over the last 20
years. The only reason I said that is those micro I've seen. So the micro plants I've seen, they produce between 100 and 500 kilowatts.
Yeah.
Or no, sorry. Whoa. I highly misspoke. Sorry. 300 and 500 megawatts. And there's some smaller micro ones that do 50 to 150 megawatts. Those plants are the future.
Yeah.
Right now, they're doing a heavy batch of them in Europe. Those.
Right. As of October, there was roughly 441 nuclear reactors across 30 countries. Obviously, it includes us and ours in there, but 1/10 of the world's energy is produced by nuclear power, and literally 1/5 of ours is produced by nuclear power. And you guys can go off that there's been meltdowns, but there's been like a dozen real, like there's been like incidents of complete clusters. We got in 1957 in Kyiv, Russia, we had a problem. Wind scale, England in 57, K-19 in the North Atlantic in 1961, SL-1 in Idaho in 61, North Star Bay, Greenland in 68, the Yucca Flat in Nevada in 1970, Czechoslovakia. I didn't write down the city. I wasn't even going to pretend to even figure out how to pronounce alphabet soup. That was in front of Czechoslovakia because it was about that big and about 3 words. And I went, no. But that was in 77, 3 Mile Island, Pennsylvania, obviously. 1979, Chernobyl was good old Ukraine. 86. Liania, Brazil, 1987. Tokemura, Japan in 99. Fukushima, Japan in 2011. And don't forget, that's not just plants melting down. That's between plants, natural disasters like K-19 was the Russian sub that was leaking. We all over the place. The Yucca Flat was the nuke test where the seal that they put underneath it leaked.
How many of them were military conflicts?
3 Mile Island was a meltdown. Chernobyl was a meltdown.
USSR.
And Fukushima. Chernobyl was in the crumbling. That was in the crumbling stages. But the USSR wasn't anything at that point. That was all just caused by idiocy. And Fukushima was the earthquake in 2011 that caused then the tsunami, which caused all the damage. It wasn't even a meltdown.
And the Iraq nuclear facility was not on there, right?
Nope. One of them. No, if you look compared to how many there are in the world and how many they've been, look how many of them were because something dumb happened. Look what some of them was leaking submarines. Chernobyl was bound to happen because it was just such old stuff, and they didn't have Soviet Union.
I just wanted to make sure they weren't invading shit like Iraq, because when Israel blew that up, there was a reason for it.
Yeah, there's idiocy and stuff involved. And again, those are just 13 or so big ones, 14, whatever. Again, look at some of them: or meltdowns, nuclear tests, submarines, natural disasters. Which who the hell is going to stop? What is it? A 10-point something? Earthquake that causes tsunami to. Sorry, that wasn't man-made.
Now there's a side note here.
That was.
I'm all
idiots.
for promoting nuclear, but there has to be a footnote on this. The UAEA has to pull their head out of their ass and step up to the plate, because they have allowed, along the side of Obama and Biden, to basically align with Iran and say, you can do what you want. Well, no, that should never have happened.
Yeah, because now guess what they have?
Once they reached 40%, they should have been, whoop, shut shit down. We got to rethought this. This is not going to work.
No, but Obama and them just kept Obama and all of them just kept pumping billions into them. Because they're to tell them to stop, even though they knew they weren't stopping. But it's kind of like North Korea and their nuke stuff. And kept giving them money, so they didn't. Then they kept doing it.
I brought that up because if those people don't step up their game, they will have another Iraq scenario soon.
No.
And if they really don't step their game up and somebody check Russia, I would not be surprised if that didn't become a conflict between Israel and Russia, because they're getting real threatened by nuclear stuff over there. And they're the ones that truly have the bigged threat, if we want to be openly honest about nukes. But coming back to nuclear power,
they have the biggest stick. They proved within about 10 minutes of Joe Biden's inauguration. Like, oh, really? What? They were even playing games. Please, what? Like, get out of the. Oh, like when the guy on Twitter from them is going, apparently our intelligence was better than yours. When you're literally poking your enemy with a stick, private, like right there in front of the world, laughing, but they have the biggest stick. They've been getting poked for a very long time now. Everyone in that region that absolutely hates them is nuclear capable. So bad things are going to happen. That's what happens when idiots are in charge of things, appeasing crazy people. Obviously, you want.
And this is a side note. I just remembered it, but just a footnote to Ukraine. Yesterday, that dude from Russia came out, and there was a general that came out from Russia. I got to do some more research. I want to find out the validity of it. But if it's true, this is huge. He said, we have to do something, because right now our enemy is not Ukraine. Our enemy is the whole entire world. We have done something tremendously wrong, and we need to get out of this scenario. A high-ranking Russian general said that. If this is true, don't be surprised if something happens soon to Putin. If that statement is true, I'm just putting that out there. Sorry, carry on the nuclear stuff.
Yeah, that's where I was just kind of like, it's actually one of the cleanest things. So no matter what, I mean, like if you look at the history for how many facilities there's been like actual meltdowns, like there's been very few, and a lot of them were in dumpster fires. And the last one that happened was because of an earthquake, which, I mean, like a super quake and the tsunami, like none you could do about any of that. Like the last real meltdown I remember was Chernobyl. Like that was the big one. Everything else has been, there's been stuff here and there, obviously, one in Brazil.
What was the original intention behind the UN?
Yeah.
No, I'm not being a smart. I'm being serious.
Oh, I know. I not the exact words they used.
Because they're about the shittiest accountability group for human rights stuff.
I think
and we're speaking of nuclear. Where were they at just a few weeks back when?
I think they came together during one or two. It was one of those two. It was
two, I thought. UN, NATO, all that stuff came after World War II, I think.
Yeah,
pretty sure all of it.
Yeah, came from.
Well, anyways, the whole reason I said that
it was two.
They're supposed to be the world court when it comes to humanitarian rights, and when it comes to nuclear power, Ukraine's got 5 nuclear facilities. One of them's messed up now. Because I know they have 6. One's messed up. 5's functioning. That's what it was. 6. One's messed up. My whole thing of it is the other one though. When there's rockets and shit and artillery flying next to nuclear reactors, and there's 6 of them standing there, that's a problem. And that's why I said the UAEA has to be. But I am excited to see what kind of production results can come out of microplants over the years.
You wouldn't know the smell of death if it smacked you in the face, my dear.
That smells like something I've never smelled before.
Trust me, I've smelled death. Yeah, I mean, like, people are dumb, and they're just going to listen to whatever anyone tells them. Like, you know, the John Kerrys of the world who are just dumb, self-absorbed, and dumb, ignorant, hypocritical. Those are the people.
You know, some of these people, I don't want to give them the chance to use the word ignorant anymore. Some of these people, they're just stupid, and as Judge Janine would say, stupid with 2 O's.
Lots of you're stupid. Brent Longfellow. You're stupid.
Yep.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate it. But that gets, I'm going to try to just close it down on the primaries because it's been going with. We're a bit into this one.
We're about to break our record.
But we love breaking records, but just, damn it, don't listen to what idiots tell you.
All right.
All it comes down to primaries. But don't do it. Just actually look up the people running and do your own research. Yeah, it's not that hard to find these people and everything they're doing. Look up what they've done, what they've passed, what they say compared to what they do.
Look up past people too.
Yeah,
don't just look at the people now, because when you look up past people, these current people come into play.
Yeah, just actually do research, because look at all the hell that's broken loose.
Maxine Waters, Susan Collins, Nancy Pelosi.
Only in 16 months. Never mind, in 2 days, it'll only be 16 months. And look how fucked everything is.
Yup.
Fucked up more than my life was in 2018. And 19. I got ran over. Sheesh.
All right, back to your primaries. So since last week, we've had Idaho, Kentucky, North Carolina, Oregon, and Pennsylvania. All right. Starting with Idaho for governor, for Republican, Brad Little. Democrat, Stephen Haidt. For House District 1, they had Russ Fletcher, Kaylee Peterson. FYI, before I forget to say this, Trump's backings did really well in this particular batch primaries.
Oh, yeah, like they killed him in a lot of states.
The House, Michael Simpson for District 2. He's no opposition in the Democratic Party. So the incumbent guy from the Democratic Party will be running again. And then for Senate, you already said Mike Crapo. You were talking about him earlier.
Crapo.
He won the Republican, and the incumbent Democrat running person, he taken over. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head.
Oh, the name. Crapo.
Then from there to Kentucky, this time we had House going. So for District 2, Brett Guthrie, he won the Republican. Hank Linderman won Democrat. For District 3, Morgan McGarvey won the Democratic. There was no opposition for the incumbent Republican. For Senate, Rand Paul got Republican, and Charles Booker got Democrat. I just want to say something about Rand Paul. Out of all the Republican votes, he received, as of 07:59 this morning, 86.25% of the Republican votes for Republican nomination. I'm sorry, he's not getting touched. His votes he got just for the Republican votes in the primary are more than all of the Democratic votes combined. Just putting that out there for numbers. Moving on, North Carolina. For the House, you had Sandy Smith. She took District 1 for Republican. Don Davis for Democrat. No opposition. For District 4 Republican. For Democrat, Valerie Foushee. She won. District 6, the Republican House seat, not decided yet. Didn't I write that one down? Oh, the Senate Republican for Idaho was not decided yet. There was a bunch of not decided. This is starting to piss me off. Speaking of not decided, now it just reminded me of something. I don't care what anyone says. Florida's doing it right when it comes to mail-in ballots. If you're going to do mail-in ballots, you start counting those as they come in. Nothing should get counted after midnight. of the voting day. Because just like in Pennsylvania, and there's one in North Carolina, there's one in Idaho, and I think there's even one in Oregon that's not decided because of mail-ins, this and that. And I'm not going to pick on Pennsylvania, but there's two people that said it early this morning on the news, and I agree with them 100%. Here we go again.
Yeah, North Carolina's letting it as long as it's dated today. Like, what the hell were you doing? Like, it was worse in 2020. Literally, what the fuck were you doing? You were locked in your house in Pennsylvania. You couldn't do anything.
Sorry, I got side noted on that one.
And Jared Lowry, shout out to my brother from another mother, was at tank school with him, reservist. Pretty sure he actually won his race for his seat in the state house here in North Carolina, out in Robeson County.
Oh, I didn't look up the state elections.
Whatever district that is. So congratulations to you, little buddy.
Definitely.
Go kick their ass in November. And
North Carolina, U.S. District 11 was Chuck Edwards for Republican. District 11, Democrat, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember now. Oh, it's not decided. The House bill, while I'm thinking of it, District 11 in North Carolina, C.L. Cawthorn was a little butthurt he didn't win. Just want to throw that out. I don't know. I have my issues with him personally.
I heard a rumor that he didn't. But again, I mean, the Rhinos pumped a lot of money into his.
Oh, well. Maybe they should have thought twice. Sorry, I don't want to hold you up. District 13.
You can't hold me up, shit.
Bo Hines won for Republican. And for Democrat, it was Wiley Nickel. For Senate, Republican was Ted Budd. Yes, Democrat was Sherry Beasley.
Good old Ted Budd. Ted Budd.
Hold on. I'm hearing yelling. Hold on. It's bad.
Well, you know, kids are terrorists. Isn't that right? Hannah's dad met Ted Budd. Got a picture and everything. Never realized how big Ted Budd was until your dad was standing next to him in that picture. That man is a Sasquatch. Or maybe your dad's just regular sized. Who knows? But good on all of them. And Cawthorn wanted to win. I mean, he knew what he was up against. That's really all I could say about that. It's the guy knew who was pumping money in to beat him. And, well, they've been doing everything they could to go after Cawthorn the last couple months. And
definitely.
I mean, the Rhinos will always, just like Soros will always out campaign anyone.
Okay, I didn't get that one yet. I ain't there yet. I'll go on.
Hurry up.
The other two states left is Oregon, Republican. Here we are again, not decided. For Democrat, it was Tina Kotick. House for District 4, Val Hoyle. For Democrat, District 5, both of them were not decided. Shocker. District 6, as of this morning, Republican was not decided. Andrea Salinas, she won a Democratic nomination for District 6. And then for Senate in Oregon, shocker, Republicans were not decided. And Ron Wyden won the Democrat. And then that leaves Pennsylvania last. Here we go. Well, that was just a list of this they put out for the orders. And so I always went on the list. Anyways, for governor, Doug Mastriano, he took Republican. Josh Shapiro took Democrat. District 7 for the House was not decided this morning. Democrats for both District 7 and District 8, no incumbent opposition. For District 8, Republican, it was James Bognick. He won. District 12, there was no incumbent for Republican opposition. Democrat was undecided for District 12. District 17 was Jerry Schaefer for Republican. And then Democrat was Christopher Deluzio. I'm not sure if I probably just butchered his name. And then last but not least, Senate was John Fetterman, even though he had a stroke and was getting a pacemaker put in, he won Democrat nomination. And then, well, as of the beginning of the show, they were still arguing who won Republican.
Yeah, well, it's going to leave it at, yeah, well. They're all idiots. They all brought this on themselves. No one's going to be happy. It's going to be left open to people saying stupid stuff happened because how hard is it?
People already blaming the Pennsylvania stuff on Barnett. I've already heard it numerous times. Yeah. That's her name, right? See, that was her name. Barnett, not Barrett. Barnett.
I believe so. I tried not to look at
she is getting blamed already by people for messing up the votes.
And I do love that, allegedly, at least last time, independents can't vote in the primaries, which I find to just be dumb in general if that's a real thing. Like, even if you're an independent, there's still people running. If you're an independent, you should be able to vote for whichever one you want.
I know. I'm just saying, there's people out there.
Vote. Get out there and vote. Make your vote count. Like, I'm not allowed to vote. There's some.
Well, the whole point of voting is you vote for who best represents you. I mean, if she's the person that represents somebody, then they vote for her. You can't have other people going around saying, "Oh, well,
look in primaries
because she ran."
Hey, look at.
I know that's what I'm saying. Like,
you can only vote for your own. You can only vote for your own party. Independents can't do anything. Talk about suppression. That's called suppression. Trust me, I've been suppressed my whole life until now. But I think that's a safe ending point. So we don't shatter our own record. See, it was so easy, and you just went off. See, it goes off the rails. At least he kept me awake, and my chair didn't creak when I got to lean back and just watch him go for 10 minutes at a time. So I'd leave it at that. Lots of good stuff. Share it out. Follow along on everything. It only takes a few seconds. It really isn't that hard. Like, find it on Facebook, YouTube.
On your local election, vote and read, people. Read. Just a couple minutes a day. Just do a little bit of reading.
But find it, share it, follow along. Let us know. It only takes a few seconds. Like, it really only does. You can do it. We appreciate it. And I'll be back at some point. Me and him will be back on Friday for racing. And till then, be good to each other. Peace.
Peace.